first-time guest to the show. He is Sam Lance of Zag's blog. Deals a lot in college basketball recruiting. Got a lot of stuff going on down at the Peach Jam a couple of weeks ago, and a lot that potentially involves Syracuse going forward. As we welcome in Sam for the first time. Thanks so much for hopping on today, Sam.
Thank you so much for having me, Brian. Excited to talk some Syracuse hoops.
And I'll say this, there was a lot of Syracuse potential recruiting targets I think you took in down at the Peach Jam a couple of weeks ago. What was the general action you observed down there involving Syracuse and a high volume of recruits it appears they're after right now?
Yeah, there's a ton of guys that Syracuse is recruiting out of the Nike EYBL circuit right now, and obviously they have Sadique White, a five-star who they've secured in their class. But yeah, I got a chance to talk with a lot of these guys that Syracuse is recruiting, like Cayenne Anthony, the son of Carmelo Anthony, Tyler Jackson, one of his good buddies who he's thinking about bringing along to Syracuse. And there's a lot of other names who have kind of released lists lately, like a Kaden Lewis, Derek Dixon, London Jemison, who have put Syracuse on there. So yeah, there has been quite a bit of rumblings lately in the recruitment circle, basketball-wise, with Syracuse.
You had an article yesterday with Sadique, and he's speaking about the idea because he's first in the boat, right? And he's one of the few five-star guys that have committed for next year. Like he wants to round them all up and come together. What do you make of Sadique out there as a lead recruiter for Syracuse right now?
Yeah, I mean, talking with Sadique, it seems like he's very in on trying to bring Cayenne Anthony home, bring Tyler Jackson with them, and recruiting a Kaden Lewis as well, and some of these other guys. And I mean, he's kind of leading the charge with this. I mean, these kids, they all know Sadique. They've played against him for a few years now. They're a lot more comfortable with them. So I think it's really cool that Sadique is really kind of getting out there and doing his best to recruit to Syracuse. And what I thought was actually really cool from our conversation is he actually has a little brother named Nasir, and he kind of hinted at possibly recruiting him to Syracuse as well once he gets older. So who knows? Syracuse may have a white family pipeline in the mix here as well, too.
I like it. I saw you had a bunch of sisters, too. He can help out the women's basketball team. He can do the whole thing here if he wants to sign on to recruit coming out. So we like he's not even going to be here for a year, and he's already working on the future of the program. We got Sam Lance from Zag's blog with us now. Obviously, we've known the name Cayenne Anthony around here for a long time because of Melo. It's a name you hear coming up, and now he's finally up there. When you got to see him play in person, like what pops to you about Cayenne's game at this point?
Yeah, I mean, really his game is very, very similar to his father's. I mean, whenever you think of Cayenne Anthony in the high school ranks, he's a scorer. I mean, he puts up a lot of shots, and he makes a lot of shots. I believe he had a 40-point game down at Peach Jam. One of the games that I watched, he was like 12 of 18 or something like that from the field with 26 points. I mean, this dude can just put the ball in the basket, and he's really advanced at getting to his spots, I think, as opposed to some of his peers. He just really knows, what spots he can get to, and I think a lot of that has to do with his NBA, training that he's received from Carmelo and those surrounding him. But, yeah, Cayenne Anthony I know there's a lot of, kind of nepotism. A lot of people, complain about that in the NBA. There is no nepotism situation here with Cayenne Anthony because he is a hell of a player. And, if Syracuse were to get him, I think that would just be incredible for, Syracuse in terms of national attention, everything like that.
Yeah, a rare case. We are rooting heavily for nepotism right now if they can pull that off, because Cayenne certainly looks like he's a heck of a player. Kaden Lewis is another name you mentioned. I think I just saw he's going to be on a visit up here as soon as tomorrow. I think it's this weekend. He's coming up. I know he just released his top 6. Like, how high of a level is this guy we should be watching out for if he picks Syracuse?
Yeah, Kaden Lewis has really kind of been one of the bigger stock risers of the entire summer on the EYBL circuit. I mean, all the blue bloods are after him now. I believe he's visited UConn, Kentucky, UNC already. Of course, you mentioned Syracuse is in the top 8, and they're getting a visit from him. I mean, Kaden Lewis, he's a really good player. He's a lefty guard, kind of more of your combo guard, even though for Team Durant he plays a lot on the ball. He's really just kind of your shifty guard finisher, can shoot the ball really just a do-it-all type of guard, and I think he would pair really well next to somebody like Sadique White, because, of course, he can shoot the ball. So Kaden Lewis, he's a really good prospect and would be somebody that Syracuse, I think, is really trying to grab here, as Sadique White mentioned.
Yeah, so that's a guy. Tyler Jackson is another guy. He's on Team Mello, the AAU team. You can figure out who that's named after, with Cayenne. So obviously these guys know each other, better, as a pairing, better than any of the rest of the group. But when you see them play, like, is that convertible? Is that a backcourt that can go from this high school AAU summer circuit to college? Do they make sense together in your mind if they keep playing together?
Oh, absolutely. And I think the cool thing is, like, this isn't just, a rumor. This isn't something that the media is, trying to build up about them teaming up. I mean, Tyler Jackson himself said that this is something they're seriously considering doing, is teaming up, coming to Syracuse. And, of course, Tyler Jackson was quoted saying, he wants to bring a national championship to Syracuse if he comes. But as far as them playing together, I mean, Cayenne, to me, whenever he gets to the college level, he's going to be more of your, 2 to 3, just kind of your wing scorer. And Tyler Jackson's your true one. He's going to have the ball in his hands most of the time, running that point guard position. And he's really athletic, really fast, getting downhill. His nickname is Hype, and it's Hype for a reason. He's really, really athletic, finishes around the rim too. So, I mean, those two playing together now in the EYBL, it's been electric, and I think it would be electric at the next level, too.
Yeah, two guys recently released their top sixes. You mentioned London Jemison and Derek Dixon. I'm looking at Dixon. He's a 4-star guy. His six is Cuse, Virginia, Vanderbilt, Pitt, Carolina, and Arizona. That's a good group. Jemison's group is Cuse, Kansas, Louisville, Virginia, Vanderbilt, and Alabama. That's a really good group. What is it telling you when you're seeing Syracuse? It feels like they're way more in the mix for these guys than maybe they had been for a minute. When you see Syracuse going after these top guys, what is that telling you?
It tells me that Coach Autry is a hell of a recruiter. I mean, he has already shown that he can grab 5-star talent, and Sadique White is one of 2 5-stars besides Darius Acuff of Arkansas, who's off the board right now. Mm-hmm. I think really it just shows how good of a recruiter Adrian Autry has been and can be towards the future. I mean, Syracuse isn't messing around. They're in the mix for a lot of top guys, and obviously they've made a lot of these top lists now. So, they're recruiting these guys hard, and they're in good positions with a lot of players. I really think that this class that Syracuse is starting to build, if they get Cayenne, if they get Tyler Jackson, and maybe one more player, I mean, we're talking about a potential number 1, top 5 type of recruiting class.
Wow, that would be spectacular, and a special group for sure. Again, this would be the group we're talking about, class of 2025, so a potential freshman for next year down the line. So, Peach Jam is obviously one of the bigger events like that of the summer. There's others like this, but how present and obvious was the Syracuse staff and Red and the guys down there? You know how it is. Everyone wears the polo shirt of their university. You can see all the colors and the head coaches. How noticeable was the Syracuse presence at these events?
Oh, they were very noticeable while I was down there. I mean, every single day that there's a live period, they were there. They were present, and they were present the whole time. I would say the live period was, firstly, it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday, Saturday, Sunday to start the tournament. And then there's a dead period between Monday and Thursday, and it resumed for the Friday, Saturday, Sunday to close the tournament. But, I mean, Autry was there, I believe, pretty much every single day of the live period, and multiple assistants. I think I spotted a total of 3 assistants from Syracuse who were there during the event. So, yeah, they're recruiting a lot of these guys from the Nike circuit. I mean, Jackson, Cayenne, Sadique, Kaden Lewis, Derek Dixon, London Jemison. They're all Nike guys, some guys that we haven't mentioned that Syracuse, I think, is kind of off now. But we're recruiting Keyshawn Tillery, Darius Adams. They all play Nike. as well. So they're recruiting that circuit hard, and they made their presence felt for sure at Peach Jam.
And we got Sam Lance with us from Zag's blog, and it's so interesting now, isn't it, Sam? When there's obviously the balance, like you want some of these high level guys coming out of high school, and then there's the transfer portal. Like, what do you make of the idea of, hey, maybe Syracuse hits a home run, right, and brings in 4 or 5 of these guys for next year? What's your idea of, like, what's the right balance of young stud talent like this versus, hitting the portal to plug some holes?
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of saw it with Kentucky last season. I mean, they had a lot of really talented freshmen. Honestly, that was a pretty good team, but I think they kind of lacked, sort of that veteran leadership. I think Syracuse has a really good opportunity here. If they can secure, 4 of these guys pretty early and have them locked in, they can start, really planning, like, okay, who are we going to need in the portal to kind of mix and match with these young guys? So, yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be very, very important for Syracuse. And, I mean, these kids, they're after one thing at Syracuse, and that's a national title, and they've said it. So, I mean, yeah, plugging in some guys from the portal is going to be big. But, I mean, securing the 4 or the 5 from this class, I think, is going to be the biggest key first.
Yeah, certainly. Cayenne knows better than anybody. He can just ask Dad what that's like to win a national title here. I do want to ask you about the 2 other players. We mentioned their names, London Jemison and Derek Dixon. Just give me a little breakdown, Sam. What are those guys? I mean, London's a forward, Dixon's a guard. How could either of them potentially fit into this mix with Sadique White, hopefully Cayenne, and others?
Yeah, so with Derek, I actually haven't spoken with Derek Dixon before, but I do know about his game just from watching Team Takeover. I would kind of just classify him as probably the best pure shooter from the guard position in this class. I mean, his stroke is so nice. He's a really good shooter. I think that's number 1 for him. Really, he's just a complete guard. He's kind of, a little bit stockier as a guard at this young age, so he's able to get downhill and such as well. But yeah, he's a really good player. And London Jemison, think of him as just kind of your versatile forward, kind of your versatile wing player. He can also knock down shots from the outside. He has a really, really pretty jump shot, and he does a lot of things for expression. He rebounds, plays defense. I would say defense is probably his calling card, but London can definitely put the ball in the basket as well.
All right, interesting. Dixon's from Team Takeover, the strong ties to Brendan Strawn there of the Orange coaching staff for sure, so that would make a lot of sense going forward. All right, Sam, great to chat a little hoops recruiting here as we're right in the middle of getting ready for football, but fun to hear about this stuff, and we'll have to do this again down the line, but thanks for hopping on today for a few.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. That's Sam Lance from Zag's blog. Check him out on Twitter on the X at SLanceHoops.